Greetings, rise and shine, brethren. We are the World Global Reset Restoration Network family, comprised of 198 sovereign nations with over 7 billion sovereign principles, being of one mind, one heart, and one spirit, walking together under the divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I come to you as a voice in the wilderness to introduce to you a man. No, not just any man, but a man sent by Yah Allah to redeem mankind. Dr. I.L. Henderson, the Adak Chief Justice of the Universal World Court, and who's also known as Yehoshua Mashiach, the Son of Man. The information that you will be receiving in this and other videos you won't get from anywhere else on the planet. Hear the many truths and fulfillment of the laws, judgments, and sentencings from our Creator, Father Yah, as well as the fulfillment of the true interpretation of the Holy Scriptures and books. Now, without further ado, Dr. I.L. Henderson with his beloved host, Shelley Bowling.
We are the true American citizens. At some point in time, my brother, you will be asked to sign a document based upon being a true citizen of the United States of America, or should we call you an American citizen? Because right now, you don't have one. Right now, as the MOORS, if we might refer to that word, don't have a nationalization. You don't have a nationality. You may think you do, but you don't have one. That is why Dr. Henderson is even here now talking to the United Nations. Because the United Nations right now don't have a nationality. They don't have one. Unless someone like Dr. Henderson, and I can tell you it's the only one that can sign that document, and that is Dr. Henderson, to give you a nationalization, or to nationalize you from a universal standpoint. You don't have one. So even though you might have a passport, even though you might be a doctor, I don't know, you might have a doctor's degree. Right now, you still don't have a nationality. You don't have a, who are you? Have you claimed a nationality? No, because you haven't been given that, afforded that opportunity to even claim a nationality. Because at the highest court, the universal court, the international court, the world court, which your United States, a number of times, to include in 1997, when they had a man by the name of William Clinton, decided to tell the people to walk out. And before that, Roosevelt, he didn't have enough intelligence, excuse me, I just called it to his family. You had an ignorant grandfather, whatever you want to call him. He didn't have enough intelligence, and possibly because he spent most of his time reading the dictionary, he forgot the simple words. So he never did he declare a nationality even for the nation. So you don't have one.
To be on the call tonight. This is Michelle in New York. I just wanted to ask a question regarding the nationality. If a person is into the Moorish temples and that they're getting their nationality. I was talking with somebody trying to tell them to get on the list, but they say that they're going through the Moorish temple to get their, nationality done or whatnot, and they think it's the same thing. I just want to get some clarification on that, because I know that the 501c4 is what we're supposed to be under. I don't know what the Moorish temple falls under. I'm not sure, but assuming that they're thinking that it's the same. I just want to get some clarification from the judge regarding the difference between the two.
I understand your question well. And I need you to understand that the Moorish temple had filed for their nationalization. They have filed for their freedom. They have asked for office the United Nations to make sure that their title is clear. They've asked that to Switzerland. They've asked that to the United Nations and Switzerland through the United Nations. I need you to understand that now they are moving the United Nations from New York City and they're moving it to Jerusalem, or the place they call Jerusalem, because they don't even understand that the new Jerusalem is Dallas City. But they keep telling everybody they're moving the United Nations to Jerusalem. They're not explaining everything to everybody that the United Nations is already in Jerusalem. It's called the New Jerusalem. It's Dallas City. The reason I'm saying that is because I say to my Moorish people, my Moorish brothers, those at the Moorish temple, the Moorish government, the Moorish clan, whatever they're at right now, I am the one to determine your nationalization. In other words, you need my signature to sign off on it. I'm talking about Dr. Henderson. You need my signature to sign off on it. So no matter where you at, you still need my signature to declare you a nationality. That is where we're at right now. And every 197 nations, to include Morocco, to include Switzerland, they need my signature to declare their nationalization or their nationalized. That's where we're at right now. So I say to you, go through the Moors temple. Go through the Moors nation. Because the Moors nation has to go through me. It will be fine, but they still must go through me. Those cards will only be cards until they have my seal of approval on them. That is a fact. So you will be just fine. Just make sure that they understand, whoever you're dealing with, that at the end of the day, Dr. Henderson is asking for blood DNA, which some of them refuse to want to give. I'm asking for blood DNA. I want to know which one of the 12 tribes they were out of or are they in. And it has nothing to do with Ammon or Moab. It has nothing to do with Moabites. It has nothing to do with Amorites. I need to know what tribe are you out of. That's all I'm asking for. That is the nationalizing that has to take place.
Dr. Henderson, great brother Henderson. Last night when you were speaking on nationality and people not signing off onto a nationality, the Moors are still pushing nationality packages. They also address the terminology of melanated people calling themselves Black and African American. I also noticed that they address themselves as, some address themselves as Moabites and Amorites and things of that nature. Could you please expound on the significance of that terminology?
Outstanding. And believe it or not, if I might say, the verdict is still out. I am actually talking to the leaders of the Moors nations. I'm talking to the leaders of the Hamid Nation. I'm talking to the leaders of would-be the government. I know who they are. I'm talking to the leaders of the clan. I'm talking to the leaders of the Moor Science Temple. I'm asking them to come together as a whole. That's happening as we speak. I have been talking to different ones, and just this morning I was talking to one that I call him the elder. He is one of the 24 elders for myself. And he knows that what we're doing now is bringing everyone together, that they might be able to understand a little bit better, even by calling themselves by names in which they were warned by the Honorable Noble Drew Ali himself. He warned them to be careful about using those different names. He even warned them about flashing their cards. He told them what the penalty was for all of those things. At the same time, the Holy Quran, Circle 7, I'm pretty sure that the majority of the Moors have read it and they understand what the 48th chapter said. In the 48th chapter, there's, if we might say, a line there, I call them verses, but they will be able to understand that he told them that not all the wisdom at that time and that moment, even when he was speaking, not all the wisdom was known. He also expressed the fact that once that wisdom and that time would come, it will be when the Redeemer was present. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they're reading the book now, and the majority of them already realize that we are in the time of the prophecy of that as well. And they know that the Redeemer is here. They know that the Redeemer has already redeemed the people. All they have to do is accept. So I'm not about to attack any of them. I can say that a lot of them, just like a lot of us, we were still confused. We were still not knowledgeable of everything. We didn't have a true understanding of everything. And as I have spoken at the Universal World Court already, as I have spoken to all the nation leaders around the world, all the titles in which are being held out there right now do not truly have official documents because they didn't come from the seal of the one that we know is the only person that can seal anybody based upon a position. But at the same time, men all the time make themselves leaders. They just go out and make themselves leaders, and with that, I tell them that's fine. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you must lead. You cannot lead from behind, and you cannot lead if you are confused yourself. So thereby, I say to them, and they've heard me speak like this before, they're leaders and the leaders. I do see them as leaders, and I say to them, they will tell you that Dr. Henderson is not afraid to tell them. You must lead, and to be a leader, you must lead from the front, not the rear. The only reason that you will find yourself leading from the rear, and that is when that cliff has become to a point where you are falling in it, and now you find yourself under the cliff, and everyone else is behind you. You are still the leader. So I say to those that are leading, you have to be very careful about being a leader because it's not that great. It's not that fashionable, especially when you have to come back and answer to the people based upon the knowledge in which you gave them. I am conscious of that. I am aware of that. I'm conscious of that. That is why when I'm bringing my statements to the people, I am making sure that I am consulting the most highest power on this planet. That is Yah Allah. That is Yah Allah, the All God. I am making sure that I do not step out of the boundaries in which He has placed me in, and that is to do His will, not my will. So I'm saying to you, right now, nationalizing still must have to come from the Universal World Court, and all the other nations that are around are doing the exact same thing. That's why in some of the areas you have them doing what they call cleansing, spiritual cleansing, where they're destroying people based upon the fact that those people are using names like Moabites and Hamites and all those other names, but they have no clue what their true blood, DNA, and RNA says. And once they're taking their true blood, DNA, and RNA, if they don't pan out to be those people, they're putting them to death based upon the word Shibboleth or Shibboleth. You have to make sure that you pronounce the word correctly, or you will fall like those soldiers did during that day. Based on the fact, it's not a game. This is reality. This is real life. And you must make sure that you are signing up and you're going to be saying, this is who I am. And you will be able to document that according to the 12 tribes that is on this planet that came from Israel. This is why it's so important to make sure that we just do not just be documenting people, or that we don't be passing out documents and saying this is our nationalization or this is your nationalization based upon the fact. It has to be proven. Blood DNA, blood RNA. This is why it's important at this moment in time during the great prophecy of the world.
Another question I wanted to ask you was the Melchizedek Trust, the Bathsheba and Esther Trust. Are those trusts associated with the Drew Ali Vast Estate Trust in any way, or how does that work?
Like we explained to everybody before, as of 1985, they ratified every trust that was on this planet. And what they did at that moment, because those trusts was also under the 501c3, they decided to disband all those trusts, even though they were irrevocable trusts, all of them. They are now saying you have to reinstitute those trusts, and the way we did that was by taking them through the Melchizedek Trust. That is the World Trust. All those trusts has to fall under that trust.
So that includes the Vast Estate, the Drew Ali.
Yes, that's correct. If it was the St. Germain's Trust, whether it was the trust of somebody's city hall, it has to fall under this one particular trust, period.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
This is the World Trust. The trust we're talking about is the World Trust. That is the Melchizedek Trust. It is the World Trust. It trumps all trusts. That's why it's called the Melchizedek Trust. All of them must fall under it. If they don't fall under that, they don't get in. We often tell them out of John, the 17th chapter of that book, exactly what it says around the 14th and 15th and 16th and 17th verse of that particular 17th chapter of John. And we let them know that we're not of this world. We're not of this system. We're not no part of this system, because we know that that system is a system that has been created to destroy the people and divide the people and keep the people divided. And whereby we often read it, many of us now have come to a point where we have memorized it to realize that we're not of this world, just as those that we're speaking to, we believe that they are not of this world. In other words, they're not of this system, just as we're not. And we want to make sure that the system in which we bring the people in contact with and make them truly be familiarized with will be a system that's not of the world in which they so now live in, but it's going to be the one that's known as the heavenly kingdom. The heavenly kingdom that will be right here on the earth, where all men will come together in peace. They will have those 5 divine principles in which now they so hear us constantly reminding us of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And yes, even though our would-be brothers and sisters in the United States of America truly believe that these 5 divine principles come by way of some other system, but they don't realize that those in whom use these words in the past, such as one would be to us, yes, a true prophet of the United States known as HILH Abdul Ali, whom also reminded the whole world through going through what was known at that time as the international court system where the United Nations resided, that he reminded them also of the 5 divine principles of the universe. But no, he did not invent them. He did not create them. He did not even discover them. But he was put on a path whereby it was already shaped. It was already in the process of going forward. And he himself made sure that he would become one of not just a student, but he would become a teacher, whereby he would pass it on to many of those that were on the planet, just as he was, to go forward to make sure that the world would be a place where they would begin to once again uplift humanity from the state in which it had fallen in. And he given them the 5 divine principles of the universe once again, and asked them to make sure that they did not forget them. Those 5 divine principles, as I repeat, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. For we understand all of these principles, they come from God, the only true God of the universe, Yah Allah, which we understand that again as we make the sound of Yah through our initial breath of life as an expression, where it even finds itself flowing through the universe, through all mankind. We understand that love first comes by way of Yah Allah. For even in the scriptures, he has already written there where he says that love is God, and God is love. And whereby he says this love, it became flesh, and it dwelled among us. He lets us know that God is a God of truth, and that truth, it became flesh, and it dwelled among us. He lets us know that that God is a God of peace, and that God of peace became flesh and dwelled among us. Yet, with this peace, with this love, and with this truth, he allowed us to recognize the fact that this was the freedom of man, and that freedom now has become flesh, and it dwells among man, and thereby it has to become that in which all of the world, if we might call it that again, the earth, the planet, must recognize this particular freedom. This freedom must be for all mankind on the planet. This freedom which will only bring us to a point where even those things in which we do classify as the laws of the land, knowing that they were given to Moses as an example of what the people had to do and what they must do and what they were going to do to go forward to make it a better place for everyone on the planet, the earth. And thereby, we also understand that to have that law would bring about total justice for all of the people of the planet. But this justice, we must realize that yes, as we move forward in it, it's a justice whereby the law itself, and we understand and we must understand that the law itself tells us that when the law even begins to bend one way or the other, when it begins to sway, we must realize that the only thing that puts us in a position where we must even recognize the law, and we must know that the law comes to a point that it itself will come back to the 5 divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to even bring us truth. We must know that the only thing, even in a court of law, that will be something in which one must look at and say it outweighs law. And the only thing that would outweigh law in a court of law or in a court system is known as that in which we say is a historical fact. All historical facts put an end to any would-be law in which one might bring about of questioning. There is no questioning the law when we know that that law states that historical fact outweighs any question, any doubt. Historical facts will always outweigh the system or the process. I want to say by announcing to many of you and at the same time giving an introduction as also inviting you to none other than that in which, as I also now what must interview everyone on the planet as a person of interest based upon being of this family in which we come by now to know that it is a sovereign family on the universe, whereby it is a family that was created by only one God, Yah, Allah, God of the universe. And as we still use his true name, Yah, knowing that this is his name, and by saying Allah, Yah, or all God, all merciful Father, by the name of Yah, we come by way of letting everyone know that we are a family now, and that we are on the planet to save mankind. To do so, we do know that there have been men in the past that have spoken of it by way of saying uplifting fallen humanity, knowing that he, HILH Abdul Ali, is one in whom must be at least acknowledged by the rest of the world, being that he and many men that were following there behind him that brought forth it to the United Nations. The United Nations already recognizes these would-be men, knowing that many of them were considered and shall always be considered men of color. But at the same time, knowing that as we go forward now, the men of color is people of color. The people of color are all of the people of the universe, which now makes up the majority, if not, we would say, the masses of people on the planet that has chosen to be part of this universal world, of a world internationally known as the world in which now must globally find a way to be able to bring everyone on the planet to realization and reality that there is but one God, and to follow this one God, one must be able to understand that we do it in a manner of the five divine principles of the universe of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We're knowing that this is our whole entire would-be reference to what is going on the planet now. We also use it as our support system to make sure that all mankind is protected and that he will be given an opportunity to at least be able to worship under his own vine and fig tree, whereby he will have to come to a conclusion himself that he must be serving one and the only true God of the universe, Yah.